Good evening. The death of Lincoln Alexander this morning has set off a wave of condolences and memories in people across Hamilton and throughout the country. It's clear tonight the former lieutenant governor, so fondly known as Link, touched so many lives and gave so much to so many. We have extensive coverage of Link for you this evening, including a reaction today and a look back at some of the stories we've run on him over the years here at CHCH. And while his loss is being felt everywhere, it is perhaps most deeply felt right here in Hamilton. It's the city he called his own. It's where he was educated, where he became the first black minister of parliament and the first in cabinet as well. Lisa Hefner's been gathering reaction to Link's death all day in Hamilton, and she joins us now live with more on Link. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Nick. He was always such a bright, affable, down-to-earth character, and I guess it was just in the last 9 months or so that people had started to notice that his health was deteriorating. In March, he had surgery for an aneurysm, and even so, though, his death this morning came as a complete shock. He had always been, for so long, a living legend. Hamilton Mayor Bob Bratina told me that we've lost someone whose own stature brought honor and status to our city.
You knew he was in the room. Talk about charisma and presence. He certainly had it.
In the 1960s, Hamilton Mayor Bob Bratina was a news reporter, and Lincoln Alexander was a lawyer he interviewed for court stories. And he was at Link's campaign headquarters the night he won the federal election and became the country's first black MP.
They had a fabulous party, just full of buzz and noise, and unfortunately all of the buzz and the noise and the talk was drowning out a fellow in the corner who was playing the piano, Oscar Peterson. John Diefenbaker noticed him right away, and I believe Mr. Diefenbaker's quote was, "That man is cabinet material."
Many remember how he caused then Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau to mutter "fuddle-duddle" under his breath in the House of Commons.
He mouthed two words, the first word of which started with F and the second word of which started with O.
Hamilton Black History Chair Evelyn Myrie says Link is a symbol of what Hamilton is.
Despite the fact that he had reached high places, he never forgot where he came from. He loved people and he believed in people. And it showed at the end of the day that if you're able to connect with the people, you can overcome any kind of oppression.
In his autobiography, Lincoln Alexander talks about how much he loves Hamilton, how he'll never leave his city. And of all the places that have been named in his honor, perhaps the one that meant the most was the highway that links his city.
Oh, he loved it.
Terry Cook, whose first political job was stuffing envelopes at the back of Link's campaign office when he was about 10, had the fortune to bestow that honor.
I think, again, that sense of an arterial connector from one end of Hamilton to another, named after a guy who never had a driver's license, was something that struck a deep and enduring chord in Link. And he was genuinely moved by that, and in some ways astonished. Had exposure to 24 Sussex and Buckingham Palace and all of the heads of state in the modern era, and yet was entirely comfortable having a sandwich at the lunch counter at Denninger's. He took public office and public service seriously. He never took himself seriously.
He always had time to talk to anyone, Nick. I know I've met him many times over the years. I always walked away laughing at something he had said with a smile on my face.
Yeah, you covered him several times, of course, Lisa, over your career here at CHH. What else stands out about Link to you?
Well, the first thing I thought of when I heard the news this morning was the last time I spoke to him. I was just canvassing people on the street before the last provincial election last September, and I happened upon him and his wife, Marnie. They were both on their scooters. They were going into Jackson Square. He talks in his autobiography about how he loved his scooter and the mobility it gave him to go around downtown and just talk to people. And you know what? I asked him for some political advice for the leaders, and he had some for me. He said, nobody works hard until the last week. Nobody gets excited to the last week. And then he left me with the tidbit that he said, maybe I should run again. And so I walked away laughing from that. So that's how I remember him. Nick?
And you know, if he'd run again, he'd probably won again. He was that popular.
Absolutely.
You bet. Thanks a lot. Lisa Hefner reporting live this evening. Now, we also have remembrances of Link from other leaders tonight. Here's what the current Lieutenant Governor, David Onley, had to say.
When he entered a room, he dominated by the force of his personality. I and my recent predecessors always knew that when Link attended an event, whether out in the community or here in the suite, people present would cluster around him, eager to bask in his kindness and his humor.
And Hamiltonian and Ontario NDP leader Andrea Horwath remembered Link this way.
You know, one of the things about him was his ability to just pull people into his circle. He had a magnetism about him that was fantastic. I don't think that we can forget that notwithstanding the great heights that he achieved and notwithstanding all of the big things that we remember him for, ultimately he was the kind of person that really took the time to listen to what people had to say. I mean,
Premier Dalton McGuinty has released a statement saying Lincoln was a towering man and his stature matched his influence, not just on all those fortunate enough to work with him, but all those who knew him. Indeed, he left an extraordinary legacy both in his private life and as a public servant. And Prime Minister Stephen Harper said Lincoln's legacy will live on through his family, through the schools and awards that bear his name, and through the memories Canadians hold of his long record of distinguished public service. Now, Hamilton's Police Chief Glenn DeCare has also released a statement on Lincoln Alexander's death. Quote, "We are humbled to have had the honor of having the Honourable Lincoln Alexander as our Honorary Chief of Police. In this role, he's represented the great men and women of the Hamilton Police Service with dignity and pride. He has left an important, lasting legacy in the city of Hamilton." And earlier today, we spoke with former Hamilton MP and Deputy Prime Minister of Canada, Sheila Copps. She says Link was the first representative of true diversity.
I think the thing that always impressed me about him was he was a gentle giant. He was always so inclusive of everyone. We spent lots of time together during his tenure as Lieutenant Governor. His son, I lived in an apartment just below his son, or just above his son, when I first started out in politics, and so I got to know the family quite well, and they were just wonderful, warm people, and so I think an inspiration to a lot of people, not just the first black MP elected, but also the first minister. He was the first black Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, and I think he broke barriers all the way along, but did it in a very gentle way and was somebody who seemed to love all aspects of life and loved all people.
Now, we learned about Link's death this morning through a tweet from current Lieutenant Governor David Onley, and all day social media sites like Twitter have been flooded with tributes to the former Queen's representative in Ontario. The former mayor of Hamilton, Larry Deaney, tweeted #Hamont lost a real city booster and national treasure this morning. R.I.P. Lincoln Alexander. We are a better city because of you. Ontario PC leader Tim Hudak posted this to his Twitter page. Saddened to hear of the passing of Honourable Lincoln Alexander, former Lieutenant Governor, PC MP and Minister, inspirational leader, Hamilton's greatest citizen. And local Liberal MPP Ted McMeekin tweeted, "Sad to hear of the passing of my good friend, the Honourable Lincoln Alexander, Ontario's 24th Lieutenant Governor. Condolences to wife Marnie and family, R.I.P." Now, Lincoln Alexander made the most of his 90 years, living with distinction and achievement. And while he was voted the greatest Hamiltonian of all time in 2006, he also helped lead a change that began sweeping across Canada in the 1960s. Al Sweeney has this look back at Lincoln's life.
Lincoln Alexander's era in public life goes back to a time when Canada was starting to confront racism. Prime Minister John Diefenbaker brought in his groundbreaking Canadian Bill of Rights.
The equal citizenship of all without regard to race or color or religion.
And Link was soon in politics. In 1965,
a new candidate on the political scene who has brought excitement as we've never felt it before.
Then in 1968, as one of Robert Stanfield's progressive conservatives,
and Lincoln Alexander.
He ran in West Hamilton against the Liberal Trudeau mania sweeping the country. As the old black and white film shows, Link made history.
The first Negro ever to be elected to the House of Commons.
On CHCH, he was as modest and plain-spoken as ever.
Well, you're the upset of the area. What do you think about it? What stopped Trudeau? What stopped Beckett in your area?
Oh, I think it's just hard work, Bill. We have been running since 1965. We had a very highly organized team.
Link held the seat through 4 elections and became a cabinet minister. Then in 1985, another landmark honor, the first black lieutenant governor in Canada. But he made it clear that he was still just Link.
I know I'm very pleased to be Her Majesty's representative in Ontario, and in that respect working for the people of Ontario, and I think that's extremely important to me, and I want to get that out that I am a people person. I intend to carry on that thought, and therefore, although I may be in a vice-regal spot, I want people to understand that it's linked, but I understand that at times now you have to call me Your Honor, and that's going to take some getting used to.
Just a few years ago, Link reflected on his life in a CHCH interview, telling the story of his mother saying to him as a young child, "Your little black boy, go to school," which he did. After serving in the Royal Canadian Air Force during the Second World War, he graduated from Osgoode Hall Law School. Then, during a career as an MP and Lieutenant Governor, the honours came in. Companion of the Order of Canada, Order of Ontario, Chancellor of the University of Guelph, Hamilton's Gallery of Distinction. Even a chance to conduct the Hamilton Philharmonic, pushed by his own fight against racism.
The need to show that a black boy, man, youth could do these things once given the opportunity. I'm still driven that way. I don't enter anything to do it in a half-assed way.
And Link said he would keep doing that every day of his life.
Governor Lincoln Alexander.
And you know, he did just that. Now, it was always a pleasure to cover Link. I ran into him a couple of times this year as a reporter on January 1st at the Lieutenant Governor's reception in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and just a few weeks ago at Queen's Park. He was in a wheelchair and his health wasn't that great, but he was engaged and involved right up till the end. Now, I also got another look at Link from a different perspective just a few years ago. It was kind of fun. We're going to run that story later in the news. Nick,
yeah, we're looking forward to seeing that one. Thanks a lot, Al Sweeney, in the newsroom tonight.
Well, congratulations, Link.
Thank you very much. Certainly, I guess you know.
Have indeed. Well, you're the upset of the area. What do you think about it? What stopped Trudeau? What stopped Deckard in your area?
Well, I think it's just hard work, Bill. We have been running since 1965. We had a very highly organized team. We had a very efficient team, and I think that as a result of this working together, and with my, as they call it, personality, that we were able to come through.
Did you make any major changes in strategy or tactics from the one election to the other?
I don't really believe so, excepting that we tried to make some inroads in areas that we were not too strong. Yeah. And I think this made the difference in certain areas. North of King Street, we went down there and opened up a headquarters down there, and as a result of that, made many new friends, and this seemed to be the thing that was needed in the past.
Mr. Alexander, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Charrington.
What about these 15 ballot boxes that we had a report were missing?
I haven't heard anything about it, Tom. This comes as a complete surprise to me.
But they've all been counted, have they, Link?
As I understand, yes.
Right, our congratulations from this end. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Some classic footage there on What a Night back in 1968. Of course, we've seen the public Link in several stories tonight, but right now, a side of Link you may have never seen. Here to share some memories of his friend is the man who knew him very well, Anna Kavukian, is here to share some of the private side of Link with us tonight. And I know you've taken Link's picture over many, many years. You've spent many celebrations and parties with him. He's inspired you. Tell me a little bit about the man you knew as Lincoln Alexander.
You know, I'm not a politician, so I can't tell you about that side, but it's his inspirational and compassionate sides that really touched me. If I can give you a little story.
Please do, yeah.
When I was photographing them, I was about to go through a divorce. I had my little boy with me at the house. Link came, we talked a little bit, and while I was photographing him, I overheard him tell my son in the back that although he came from a broken family himself, that he'd done so well, and so he inspired my son. He said, nothing is impossible if you put your mind to it. And my son's become a commercial pilot now for Cathay Pacific, so he's doing well.
And Link certainly proved that in his own life as well, didn't he? Nothing was impossible because he put his mind to it as well. Now, you brought us some incredible home video of a birthday party, a birthday celebration of yours a few years back. Can you set the scene for us now as we roll the tape? Because this is just something so incredible to see.
It was my 59th birthday party. Link decided he'd host it in his house, but when the number came to 60, he said, let's do it in your own house. So He came over, he thought I was 60. And then we had an opera singer, actually we had two of them, Maureen Forrester and Linda McGuire. And near the end of it, Link decided he wanted to hear Carmen.
It's amazing to watch him as she is singing along, and he's really getting right into it, isn't he?
Yes, well, Link, this was the side of Link that very few people saw.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, he starts, getting into it. And at this point, he's quite frail, right? I mean, he really was having trouble walking at this time, right? And what we're about to see, if you could set the scene a little bit more, take it from there,
It's hard to believe, isn't it? We've seen this together. And he will see in a minute, he'll stand up. The man who could barely walk went into, I don't know, what would you call it, dancing gyrations?
Yeah, I mean, here you are. You're egging him on a little bit by passing him the rose for sure. You knew kind of where this was going to lead, I suppose.
I didn't. He started getting up. Then I brought the rose. The timing was perfect.
And you can hear, you said there were about 60 people at this party, and they were just starting to applaud and really loving watching Link in this moment, weren't they?
Yes, and Link loved performing.
And was this typical of him? Like, is this how he was in his private life, a very just friendly and fun-loving? He could be serious, but he could also really lighten up, couldn't he?
There was many sides of him, but it's the compassionate side that I loved of him. I think I told you, for my first Christmas, when I moved to the Hamilton area, I didn't have anything to do for Christmas. He heard about it, called me, and he said, I need a date for Christmas Day dinner. He says, you're going to be it, so he said, come pick me up. And I was touched.
What a
man. Of all the friends he's got, he picked on someone who was sad on his first Christmas away from Toronto, where I lived.
Onig, it must have been pretty special and quite an honor to be his friend, I'm sure.
He was, and I'm feeling very touched that I'm a small part of it.
Yeah. Onig, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your thoughts with us tonight. I really do appreciate those pictures as well, too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. As we remember Lincoln Alexander tonight, we want to take you back to November of 2006 when he told his life story in his own words. He'd written his memoir, Go to School, You're a Little Black Boy. On the eve of its launch in Hamilton, Shirley Engel sat down with Link for a one-on-one.
At the tender age of 5, Lincoln Alexander's mother gave him a piece of advice he's come to live by. You're a little black boy, she said. Go to school.
So it happened to be that she was right. So I did. As a matter of fact, I'm still going to school. I've never given up wanting to learn, to excel, do your best, to be the best.
Lincoln Alexander!
And he went on to do just that, shattering barriers for black people across the country.
The first Negro ever to be elected to the House of Commons, Lincoln Alexander in Hamilton.
From becoming a member of Parliament in 1968 to Lieutenant Governor of Ontario in 1985, Alexander has led a life of unlikely triumph against all odds, a feat detailed in his new memoir by journalist Herb Shoveler. All the while, he's been driven by the need to succeed.
The need to show that a black boy, man, youth could do these things once given the opportunity. I'm still driven that way. I don't enter anything to do it in a half-assed way because that's not my style.
Her Majesty greeting famous Hamiltonian, the Honourable Lincoln Alexander.
His style and grace earned him good company over the years. He's met the Queen 6 times and posed with the likes of dignitaries both revered and resented. But his greatest achievement was being named greatest Hamiltonian.
It's not from some government agency who pins a ribbon on you. It's from the people of Hamilton who got together and talked to one of their boys and made him the greatest Hamiltonian. That's big stuff.
His book, which will be launched at the Royal Botanical Gardens today, is a tribute to his mother. And though he's realized more than most in his 84 years, this living legend refuses to stop.
So will you work for the rest of your life?
Yes, ma'am. Every bloody day until I drop dead. My aim is to be 100 anyway. And I'll make it.
Shirley Engel, CH News, Hamilton.
Well, as we remember Lincoln Alexander tonight, we go back just over 5 years to Link's 85th birthday. Al Sweeney caught up with him as he zipped along the streets of Hamilton.
After decades as a fixture on the national scene and in Ontario, Link is now a fixture on the streets of Hamilton, getting out on his little red scooter. He turned 85 in January and can't walk quite as far or fast as he used to, but he's still cruising around and meeting the people of Hamilton.
She's giving me hell. She says, you're going too fast. I said,
throughout his life, Link has been setting the pace and carving a trail for others to follow.
Lincoln Alexander!
Hamiltonians know the story. The first black member of Parliament in Canada, then a federal cabinet minister, then Ontario's lieutenant governor, the first black person to hold a vice-regal post in this country.
It shows anybody in Canada can become a mayor, can become a leader of a province, can become a governor general. 40 years ago, that wasn't quite the fact. What's going on?
Pretty good, thanks.
I'm out trying to get...
And he was voted the greatest Hamiltonian.
Of course. Of course. Always.
On any day, Link is out on his scooter. As he says...
I have a friend, a lady friend, she said I'm the greatest gallivanter in the world, and I am. I like to go out, meet the people, meet and greet, shake hands.
He still has the touch that won him widespread admiration over the years.
Welcome to Canada. We like to bring people to Canada to see how they should live. We welcome you.
And the confidence to speak his mind. For one thing, about other scooter drivers who go too fast.
People are going by me 100 miles an hour in their scooter, and I swear at them. I give them the Trudeau salute like this.
The Toronto event is being billed as a celebration of his birthday by people who think highly enough of Link to pay $500 a ticket to raise money for a fund in his name, supporting the heritage of his province. Al Sweeney, CH News, Hamilton.
All right, well, we saw Link express himself with a finger there, and Matt, another nice guy.
You know what? And the thing about him is that he would say exactly what was on his mind. That's what I loved about him.
That is absolutely Link to a T.
And a great sense of humor.
He definitely did. And thank you so much for watching this edition. We, of course, are back at 11. Have a good night and a great weekend.
Good night.
Good night.
Keeper of the Great Seal
of Her Majesty's Province of Ontario.
Of Her Majesty's Province of Ontario.
Where's Kathy?
I come in handy every night. And Harry Belafonte said, woman smarter than read this way and be so happy.
I tell them that you're looking younger.
I pray every day, 2 or 3 times a day.